A 200-pound Bullmastiff sat in a shelter for 573 days. 43 families rejected him. They all said the same thing. Too big, too scary, too much. But then a 3-year-old girl who hadn't spoken a single word in 247 days walked up to his kennel. And what she did next changed everything. His name was Bruno, a 200-pound Bullmastiff with a wrinkled face the size of a dinner plate, golden fur that looked like it had been dipped in honey, and eyes so deep they made grown men look away. He spent 19 months in a concrete kennel at a county shelter outside Atlanta. Not because he was aggressive, not because he was sick, but because he was enormous. And enormous scared people. 43 families walked past his kennel. 43, the shelter kept count. Some stopped, looked, and kept walking. Others didn't even slow down. One couple laughed and said, "That's not a dog. That's a bear." Bruno just sat there watching, waiting every single day for 573 days. The shelter workers said he stopped wagging his tail after family number 20. They said he stopped standing up when people walked by after family number 30. By family 43, Bruno would just lie in the corner with his massive head on his paws, staring at the wall like he'd already given up on being chosen. Nathan and Claire weren't looking for a dog. They were barely looking at each other. 18 months of sleepless nights will do that to a marriage. Their daughter, Rosie, was 3 years old and hadn't spoken a full sentence in 8 months. The pediatric Ian called it selective mutism. Claire called it heartbreaking. Rosie had just stopped talking one day. No trauma, no explanation. She just went quiet. Claire had quit her job to be home full-time. Nathan worked double shifts to cover the bills. They passed each other in the hallway like strangers. The house was silent in the worst possible way. It was Claire's sister who dragged them to the shelter. "You need something alive in that house," she said. "Something that breathes and doesn't judge." They walked in expecting a Labrador, maybe a golden retriever, something small and safe. Then they saw Bruno. Claire froze. Nathan pulled her arm. "Absolutely not. That dog weighs more than me." But Rosie did something she hadn't done in months. She walked straight to his kennel, pressed her tiny hand against the metal bars, and whispered one word. "Big." Claire's knees buckled. Nathan's jaw dropped. The shelter worker's eyes filled with tears. That was the first word Rosie had said in 247 days. They signed the papers that afternoon. The first week was chaos. Bruno didn't know how to live in a house. He knocked over a lamp with his tail. He sat on the coffee table thinking it was a bed. He drank from the toilet and sneezed water across the entire bathroom. But with Rosie, he was different. He moved slowly around her, deliberately, like he understood she was small and he was not. When she sat on the floor, he would lower himself down inch by inch until his massive body was flat beside her, his wrinkled head resting gently against her leg. And Rosie started talking. Not to Claire, not to Nathan, to Bruno. "Bruno, sit. Bruno, come. Bruno, stay." Short words, simple commands, but they were words. And every time Rosie spoke, Bruno listened like she was giving the most important orders in the world. His ears would perk forward, his tail would thump against the hardwood, and he would do exactly what she asked. The pediatric Ian couldn't explain it. Claire didn't need an explanation. Her daughter was talking again. That was enough. But the moment that changed this family forever happened on a Tuesday night at 3:14 a.m. Nathan heard it first. A deep rumbling sound vibrating through the floorboards. Not a bark, not a growl, something heavier, something urgent. He grabbed his phone and ran down the hallway. What he found stopped him cold. Bruno was sitting in the narrow hallway outside Rose's bedroom. All 200 pounds of him, pressed against both walls, his massive frame completely blocking the corridor like a living barricade. Rosie was sitting on the floor behind him in her pink pajamas, tears streaming down her face, her small arms wrapped around his thick neck. Nathan's heart nearly exploded. "Rosie, what happened?" She looked up at him with wet eyes and said the longest sentence she had spoken in over a year. "I had a bad dream and Bruno came." Nathan sank to his knees right there in the hallway. He didn't move. He couldn't. His daughter had just spoken 9 words in a row. And the reason was a 200-pound dog who had positioned himself between her and whatever monsters lived in her nightmares. Claire appeared behind him. She saw the scene. She saw her husband on his knees. She saw her daughter holding a dog that 43 families had rejected. And she broke. From that night on, Bruno slept in the hallway outside Rose's room. Every single night. Not inside, not on her bed, in the hallway, facing the door like a soldier on post. Rose's words came back slowly, then all at once. First it was commands, then short sentences, then full conversations. Within 4 months, she was talking to her preschool teacher, to the mailman, to the neighbors. And Bruno was always beside her. At breakfast, his enormous head would rest on her lap while she ate cereal. At the park, he would walk so close to her that her hand naturally rested on his back like a railing. When other kids stared at him with wide eyes, Rosie would pat his wrinkled head and say, "Don't worry, he's just big. He's not scary." A 3-year-old girl defending a 200-pound Bullmastiff. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about this breed, nothing will. Nathan and Claire started talking again too. Not about bills, not about schedules, about Bruno, about Rosie, about the fact that a dog nobody wanted had somehow glued their family back together. Today, Rosie is 5, Bruno is 6. She reads him bedtime stories every night. He falls asleep by the second page every time, and he still snores so loud that the windows rattle. But nobody in this house would change a single thing. 43 families said number 43 families looked at Bruno and saw a dog that was too big, too scary, too much. But a little girl who hadn't spoken in 247 days looked at him and saw exactly what she needed. Sometimes the broken ones fix each other. Sometimes love weighs 200 pounds and snores like a freight train. And sometimes the thing your family needs most is the thing everyone else was afraid of. Because Bruno didn't just fill the silence in that house. He gave a little girl her voice back. And if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. Have you ever seen a dog change a child's life? Or did your dog save your family when nobody else could? Tell me your story in the comments. We're waiting.